The music was still playing when my mother took the microphone. Glasses were already raised. The room had that soft wedding hum chairs, shifting silverware, touching plates, the low echo of 250 conversations folding into one. She didn't wait for the MC to finish his sentence. She pulled the mic from his hand, tapped it once, and said my name clearly. Noelle has a special wedding gift. The LED screen behind the head table lit up before anyone could react, white text on a pale gold background, clean, confident. Congrats, Brielle, your new house. I didn't look at the screen right away. I looked at my water glass. The condensation had pooled into a thin ring on the tablecloth. Someone near me whispered, "Oh my God." Another guest laughed short and confused, like they thought this was a joke that would land better in a second. My chair scraped when I stood. Not because I wanted to, because every face had already turned. The room angled toward me the way rooms do when a decision has been made without you. My sister's smile was tight rehearsed. Her bouquet rested in her lap, white roses wired together so tightly they didn't move when she shifted. My mother kept talking. She always does when she senses silence. "We want you to give her yours," she said, smiling toward the crowd, not at me. "You don't need it the way she does." My father didn't take the microphone. He leaned in close enough that I could smell the champagne on his breath. His voice stayed low, careful. "This is your last chance." A waiter passed behind him carrying a tray of untouched flutes. The band quieted without being asked. The screen stayed lit. The words didn't flicker. My mother reached into her clutch and pulled out a stack of papers already clipped together. She waved them once, just enough for the front tables to see. "It's simple," she said. "Just a quitclaim deed. We filled everything out for you." She stepped closer and held the pages toward me. Brielle's name was typed neatly on the line marked Grantee. The signature line was empty, waiting. I didn't take the pen, I didn't sit back down. I stayed where I was, hands at my sides, feeling the weight of the room settle. Somewhere behind me, a fork hit a plate. The sound carried. If you've ever been cornered by your own family in front of strangers, you know why I didn't say anything. You know why standing still can feel like the only thing that's still yours. I stayed standing longer than the moment required, long enough for my mother's smile to stiffen, long enough for the DJ to lower the music another notch like he was bracing for something heavy to fall. The pen hovered between us. My mother's hand didn't shake. Mine didn't move. I said evenly, "That house isn't a gift. It's my life." A ripple moved through the room. Someone near the back coughed. My father straightened his jaw, setting the way it always did when he decided I was being difficult rather than precise. "You didn't build it alone," he said. "Let's not rewrite history." The house came back to me in pieces the way it always does. Morning light on raw studs, the smell of wet concrete curing in the cold. My boots by the door dusted white. I was 20 when I started working days on other people's projects and nights on my own. Electrical after dinner, framing on weekends. I learned to sleep in 4-hour blocks because that's what the work allowed. The land had been my grandmother Evelyn Carter's. She died in 2020 quietly in her own bed. I was there when the nurse packed up the supplies. I was there when the room went still. In her will, the cash was divided evenly. The land wasn't. That line was clear. It had been read aloud once in a lawyer's office with bad lighting and a clock that ticked too loud. My mother waved her hand as if brushing dust off a shelf. "Everyone helped," she said. "Your father and I put money into that place. Once," I said. I didn't raise my voice. 12,000. For the foundation." My father nodded quick. "Exactly. I paid it back," I said. "With interest. 9 months." My mother laughed sharp and short. "You can't charge interest to your parents." "I didn't," I said. "The bank did." The room tilted again. The LED screen still glowed behind us, frozen on a message that had aged badly in minutes. My sister stared straight ahead, her lips pressed together. She hadn't asked for any of this out loud. She didn't have to. I reached into my bag and took out a thin folder. It bent slightly at the corners from being carried too long. I opened it the way I open anything important, slow, careful. "I have the paperwork notarized, filed with the county recorder's office," I said. My father's eyes flicked to the pages despite himself. My mother leaned closer, scanning for something she could argue with. That doesn't mean she started. It means it's recorded, I said. It means it's done. I could see the valuation stamped on one of the documents. 475,000 after completion. The number didn't feel like pride. It felt like weight. Years of it. My 20s spent patching roofs, rewiring kitchens, eating standing up, living small so something solid could exist. My mother shook her head. Your grandmother would have wanted this, she said louder now, turning back toward the guests. She wouldn't pit sisters against each other. She didn't, I said. She chose. Silence landed hard. My father exhaled through his nose. So you're saying no, he said. I'm saying it's not yours to offer, I replied. My mother closed her clutch with a snap and pulled the microphone back toward her mouth. Her smile returned wider than before. Well, she said, I guess we all see what matters to you. I watched her turn away, watched the room follow. The pen was still in her hand. The papers weren't. I slid the folder back into my bag and sat down. The band started playing again, too loud, too late. The screen stayed bright, and somewhere in that noise, something permanent shifted whether they wanted it to or not. The music tried to recover, but my mother didn't let it. She lifted her voice instead, projecting it past the tables, past the flowers, toward the people who had already decided to watch. She's being selfish, she said clearly. She doesn't know how to sacrifice. The word selfish hung there, easy to grab. Heads turned. A few guests nodded, relieved to be told what this was supposed to mean. Someone near the aisle raised a phone angled just enough to pretend it wasn't recording. The DJ glanced at the planner. The planner looked at the floor. My father followed, louder than he'd been all night. We didn't raise her like this. I stayed seated. The chair felt narrower than before. My hands rested flat on my thighs. When I breathed in the smell of flowers, gave way to warm wine and metal from the lighting rigs overhead. Brielle stood up then. The dress caught the light the way it was meant to. Expensive fabric cut to move when she moved. She stepped toward me, slow, careful, like a scene she'd practiced in her head. You won't help me, she asked. Her voice cracked in the right place. After everything, my mother leaned into it. This is about loyalty, she said, about putting family first. The word changed shape when she said it. Loyalty didn't sound like love. It sounded like a test. Brielle stopped a few feet away. I could see the stitching along the hem, the way the lace overlapped cleanly. She didn't reach for me. She didn't have to. I just need a place to start, she said. You have so much more than I do. A murmur moved through the room. Someone whispered my name like it was a warning. Another phone lifted. The screen light flickered against a champagne glass. I looked at the papers still in my mother's hand. The clip. The blank line. The word grantor printed above it. No mention of time. No clause for return. No language for temporary anything. Say it, I said. My mother frowned, irritated. Say what? What you're asking, I said. She waved the papers once, impatient. Just sign it over, she said. Why make this harder than it is? Sign it over. Not lend, not share, not let her stay until things settled. Transfer. Permanent. Clean. My father crossed his arms. This is how families work, he said. You give when it's your turn. I nodded once. The movement surprised him. So, it's not help, I said. It's ownership. Brielle's eyes widened just a little. I didn't mean it like that, she said quickly. But that's what it is, I replied. My mother's smile flattened. Don't twist words, she said. You know what we mean. I do, I said. That's the problem. The room went quieter than it had any right to. The band had stopped entirely now. A glass tipped somewhere and rolled until a foot caught it. The LED screen hummed faintly, still congratulating the wrong person. My father leaned forward. If you walk away from this, he said, don't expect us to forget it. I looked at Brielle at the way her hands twisted together at the ring, flashing every time she moved. You're asking me to give up the only thing I've ever finished, I said. And you're calling it loyalty. My mother lifted the microphone again, already turning back to the crowd. Well, she said bright and loud, I guess we know where she stands. I stood then. Not quickly, not dramatically. I took my bag from under the chair and slipped the strap over my shoulder. Phones followed me. Eyes did too. No, I said to no one in particular. Now you know what you're taking. I walked past the head table, past the flowers, past the screen that kept insisting on a house that wasn't theirs. Behind me, someone said my name like it could pull me back. It didn't. I didn't stop walking right away. I made it to the edge of the room where the light shifted and the carpet changed texture under my shoes. The exit sign hummed above the doors. Green, steady. Someone laughed too loudly behind me, trying to pull the night back into place. My mother called after me sharp. "Don't do this," she said. "Not tonight." I turned slowly. The room settled again. "I already helped," I said. I paid for the catering deposit when it fell through. I covered the florist when the check bounced. I wired the venue fee 2 weeks ago. I kept my voice even. This wedding happened. With my money. That was the help. My father stepped in front of her, blocking the aisle. His face had gone tight the way it does when he decides the argument is no longer private. "Enough," he said. "You've embarrassed us." The word landed heavier than anything else he'd said. Embarrassment. Not the papers, not the threat, not the crowd with their phones still raised. "Sign it," he said louder now, "or walk out." A chair scraped. Someone whispered, "Is she serious?" The band didn't start. The planner hovered at the edge of the stage, hands clasped like she was waiting for permission to breathe. My father leaned closer, his voice low but carrying. "Sign the house over," he said, "or you're out of this family." I looked past him at my mother. She was nodding small, precise movements already decided. Brielle stood behind them, her face pale now. Mascara untouched, eyes fixed on the floor like she was counting the seconds. I said one word. No. It wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. My father's mouth tightened. "Then don't come crying to us," he said. "Don't call. Don't show up. You're done." I reached for the papers then. Not the pen. The pages. My mother hesitated, then handed them over, certain she'd already won. The paper was heavier than it should have been. I scanned once quick. That was when I saw it. Near the bottom, smaller font, a line that hadn't been mentioned. Additional interest holder. My mother's name sat there clean and typed like it had always belonged. I looked up. "So this was never just about Brielle," I said. My mother's eyes flicked just once. "That's not what that means," she said. "It means control," I replied. "After the transfer," my father scoffed. "You're imagining things." I held the page up, not to the crowd, just high enough that he could see it. "You wouldn't need this," I said, "if it was really a gift." Silence broke unevenly. A glass tipped and shattered near the bar. Someone swore under their breath. The LED screen buzzed, then dimmed slightly like it was tired too. My mother reached for the papers. "Give those back," she said. I slid them into my bag instead. The zipper sounded too loud. "No," I said. "These explain enough." My father straightened eyes hard. "You're choosing pride over blood," he said. I adjusted the strap on my shoulder. "No," I said. "You already did." I turned toward the doors. This time no one called my name. The room didn't follow. Behind me, the microphone screeched as my mother tried to fill the space with something smoother, something salvageable. The doors closed softly. The hum cut off. Outside, the night air was cool and empty. I stood there for a moment, listening to my own breathing, the quiet honest in a way the room never was. Inside, they would keep celebrating. They always did. The air outside had cooled my face, but it hadn't slowed anything inside. I was still close enough to hear the muffled music when the doors opened again behind me. Light spilled out in a hard rectangle across the pavement. My father came first. Fast, purposeful. He didn't call my name. I turned just as his hand closed around one of the metal stands from the decor table, black iron wide base, meant to look vintage and expensive. A white rose arrangement sat in the ring at the top, water hidden inside a clear cylinder. When he lifted it, the stems shifted and the water made a soft clack against glass. For a second, nobody moved. The night recalibrated. He didn't wind up much. He didn't warn. The flat bass connected with my temple, dull and heavy like hitting a post wrapped in cloth. My knees gave first, then the rest followed. I remember the sound of my shoes scraping once before the ground met me. There was a pause. Not panic. Not yet. Blood ran warm along the side of my face, pooling fast against the concrete. I stayed where I was. The exit sign buzzed above the doors. Somewhere inside, a microphone squealed and went dead. My mother leaned over me, her heels planted carefully so she wouldn't step in it. "Get up," she said. "You're embarrassing us." She didn't touch me. She didn't look at the blood for long. Her eyes kept flicking toward the open doors, toward the guests who had begun to cluster, phones raised higher now, no pretense left. Someone moved toward me, a man I didn't recognize, maybe a cousin by marriage. My father swung his arm out, stopping him without looking. "This is family business," he snapped. The words worked. The man froze. Others did too. The boundary held. I pressed my palm to the ground and tried to push up. My hand slid. I stayed down. The world narrowed to sound my own breathing uneven, the low hum of the lights, the soft rush of blood in my ear. Brielle hovered near the doorway. She had stepped back, careful, lifting the hem of her dress so it wouldn't brush against me. The fabric stayed clean. Her face tightened when someone nearby gasped. "She's fine," Brielle said quickly to no one in particular. "She's always dramatic." She turned her head slightly and added lower, "She's making it worse than it is." My mother nodded, grateful for the assist. "See," she said. "This is what she does." A planner knelt a few feet away, hands hovering uselessly. "Should we call someone?" she asked. "No," my father said. "Absolutely not." I lay still, not because I couldn't move, because I understood something had crossed a line that didn't bend back. The iron stand lay on its side near my shoulder, Rose's spilled water spreading in a thin arc that caught the light. My mother crouched closer, her voice sharp and urgent now. "If you don't get up," she said, "people will think we hurt you." I looked at her then. Just long enough. "You did," I said. The word landed wrong, too plain, too factual. Sirens cut through the night a minute later, not invited. Someone had called anyway. Blue and red light washed over the parking lot, over the blood, over the white dress held too high. My father stepped back. My mother stood smoothing her skirt. Brielle turned away, already rehearsing a different version. I stayed where I was until the officers reached me. The ground was cold. The truth wasn't. I was still on the ground when security arrived. Two of them first moving faster than the guests' radios already up. One knelt near me without touching. The other stepped directly into my father's path. The man closest to me wore a plain black jacket with a badge clipped at the seam. He looked at the blood, then at the iron stand on its side, then back at my father. His voice didn't rise. "That's assault with a deadly weapon," he said. My father laughed once, sharp and disbelieving. "Don't be ridiculous," he said. "This is family." The guard didn't argue. He pressed the radio once. "Call it in," he said, "and lock the doors." Someone protested from behind him. "An aunt, I think." "Please," she said. "It's a wedding." "Can we not do this tonight?" The guard looked at her like she'd asked him to ignore gravity. "There are cameras," he said, "and witnesses. This isn't something we decide to forget." I shifted onto my side. The floor left a dark smear where my head had been. A napkin appeared near my face. Then another. Hands hovered, unsure where they were allowed to land. My mother started talking all at once. "She fell," she said. "She's always been clumsy." He was trying to stop her. The guard didn't look at her. He was already watching the entrance. The sirens returned closer now. Red and blue light bounced off the glass doors, then spilled into the lobby when they opened. Two officers came in briskly, one older, one younger. Their boots sounded loud on the tile. The older officer took in the scene without comment. The blood, the stand, the phone still raised. "Who did this?" he asked. The guard answered before anyone else could. "Him," he said, nodding at my father. "Witnessed by multiple guests. Caught on camera." My father stepped back instinctively. "You're not serious," he said. "She's my daughter." The younger officer moved behind him. "Turn around," he said. "Hands behind your back." My father looked at my mother like this was her cue to intervene. She opened her mouth, closed it, smoothed her dress instead. Metal clicked. The sound was clean. Final. Someone started crying near the bar. Brielle stood frozen near the doorway, her bouquet still intact, knuckles white around the stems. "This is insane," she said. "It was an accident." The older officer glanced at her briefly. "Ma'am," he said, "step back." And Uncle leaned in, voice urgent low. "Can we please handle this quietly?" he asked the guard. "It's her wedding day." The guard shook his head once. "Not how this works," he said. "Not tonight, not ever." An EMT knelt beside me then. She asked my name. I gave it. She asked if I could see clearly. I told her which lights were flickering. My father was guided toward the doors, wrists bound, posture stiff with disbelief. "You're overreacting," he said to no one in particular. "This is being blown out of proportion." I watched him pass under the exit sign. The green glow didn't soften anything. My mother finally looked at me. Her face had gone pale, the embarrassment drained and replaced by calculation. "You didn't have to let it go this far," she said. The EMT pressed gauze to my temple. "She didn't," the guard said. "You did." The doors closed behind the officers. The music didn't start again. No one suggested it should. I was lifted onto a stretcher. As they rolled me out the lobby, lights hummed steadily overhead, indifferent. Inside, a wedding waited to be explained. Outside, the night accepted what had already happened. They loaded me into the ambulance feet first. The doors closed with a hollow thud that cut the lobby noise cleanly in half. Inside, everything was white and metallic. Fluorescent light, Velcro straps. The medic spoke in short questions. I answered in numbers and directions. Somewhere beyond the doors, a wedding continued to exist without me. We hadn't gone far when my phone buzzed against the stretcher rail. Once, then again. The medic glanced at it and slid it closer. "You want that?" she asked. I nodded. My fingers were stiff, but they worked. Julian's name filled the screen. I answered without greeting. "There's something everyone here needs to know," he said. His voice was shaking, but the words weren't. I could hear the ballroom behind him now. Chairs scraping, voices pitched too high, the feedback hum of a microphone being adjusted by someone who hadn't planned for this. "I'm reading an email," he continued. "From our CPA, we were supposed to merge accounts on Monday." I pictured him standing where I'd left him, jacket still buttoned, tie loosened, once eyes fixed on a screen he hadn't expected to see tonight. "There's a significant discrepancy," he said. The ambulance slowed at a red light. The siren cut off. Silence pressed in around his words. He started listing numbers, credit cards, multiple, balances rolled forward month after month, minimums paid late, fees stacked quietly. "There's also a personal loan," he added. "It's past due." A breath uneven. I didn't know. I didn't say anything. I watched the medic tape a line cleanly along my arm. Julian kept going. He was reading now, not performing. "The totals don't make sense with what she told me," he said. "Not with the salary, not with the spending." In the background, someone interrupted him. A woman. Sharp. My mother. "Julian, this is not the time." "It is," he said. His voice steadied. "It's exactly the time." He took the microphone. I could hear the shift in the room through the phone, the way attention reorients when a man speaks instead of a daughter. "There's debt," he said out loud now. "More than I was told. And it's not recent." The ambulance started moving again. The light flickered across the ceiling in a steady rhythm. "I was told this house thing was symbolic," Julian said. A gesture. He paused. I imagined him looking up finally at my parents. But the email mentions collateral. That word landed like something dropped from a height. My father's voice cut in sharp defensive. "You're misunderstanding." "No," Julian said. "I'm not." He exhaled once. "There was a plan," he said, "to use Noelle's house, to leverage it, to cover the loan and the cards until things settled." I closed my eyes, not because it hurt, because it aligned. "I found another email," Julian continued. "From your mother. She already knew." The medic adjusted the stretcher as the ambulance turned. Metal clicked. "The world stayed level. I didn't agree to this," Julian said, "and I won't be part of it." I heard movement on his end. A gasp. Brielle's voice thin and fast. "You didn't have to say all of that." Julian didn't raise his voice. "I did," he said. "Before it followed me too." There was shouting then, overlapping. My name surfaced, once distorted, then disappeared. Julian came back on the line, quieter. They were counting on your house, he said. I'm sorry. I know, I replied. The ambulance pulled into the bay. The doors opened. Cold air rushed in. Julian hesitated. I don't think I'm getting married tonight, he said. I looked at the ceiling one last time before they moved me. Neither am I said. The line went dead. Inside the ballroom, a story was collapsing under its own weight. In the ambulance bay, the truth had already arrived. The ambulance doors opened into a wash of white. The ER smelled like disinfectant and warm plastic. Wheels rattled. Curtains hissed closed. Someone read my name off a wristband and said it again to confirm it still belonged to me. They slid me into the CT scanner head first. The machine hummed low and patient. Don't move, the tech said. Just breathe. I watched the ceiling pass in measured inches. When it stopped, the sound changed flat clicks, steady intervals. I counted them until they stopped counting me back. Back in the bay, a nurse shaved a narrow strip at my hairline. Cold air followed. The staples came next. Each one sounded the same, sharp, clean, final. You'll feel pressure, she said. I nodded. I didn't correct her. A man waited until they were done. Plain clothes, notebook. He stood where I could see him without turning my head. I'm Detective Harris, he said. I need to ask you a few questions. He didn't rush. He asked for times, for positions, for what I remembered before and after. I answered in short lines. When I paused, he waited. Silence did some of the work for both of us. There's a lot of video, he said finally. Different angles, guests, hotel cameras. I watched a monitor blink behind him. How many witnesses, I asked. Enough, he said. The case is solid. He flipped a page. Your father's a realtor, he added, not looking up. That means connections. Sometimes people try to make things softer. I pictured my father shaking hands, smiling, reframing. I don't want soft, I said. He looked at me then. Do you want a restraining order? He asked. No contact. Immediate. Yes, I said. He wrote it down. That applies to calls, texts, showing up, he said. Third parties too. Good, I said. The nurse returned with discharge instructions folded too many times. The ER was loud in a contained way. Beeps, murmurs, a cart squeaking somewhere. It shouldn't. You have a concussion, she said. No driving, no screens if you can help it. I signed where she pointed. My signature wobbled once, then steadied. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I let it ring. Then again. I turned it face down. The detective stood to leave. They may say, this got out of hand, he said. They may say it was stress. I know, I said. He paused at the curtain. If anyone pressures you, he said, call me. When he left the room, settled into the low hours. A TV murmured somewhere. A cart rolled past, then back again. I pressed 2 fingers to the staples through the bandage. They didn't move. A nurse came in to wheel me toward discharge. Do you have someone picking you up? She asked. No, I said. She nodded like that was allowed. Outside, dawn had started without asking. The sky was pale, undecided. The air felt clean in a way rooms don't. I stood still until the world stopped tilting. Behind me, paperwork moved forward. Cameras would be pulled, statements filed, a boundary set that didn't depend on anyone's permission. I walked to the curb and waited for a ride I'd already ordered. The phone stayed face down in my hand. Whatever they were planning next would have to find a different door. Less than 48 hours later, the light in my kitchen still felt unfamiliar. Morning came through the east window in a thin line, catching the dust I hadn't cleaned yet. I stood at the counter with a glass of water I'd forgotten to drink. The staples tugged when I tilted my head. Julian knocked once. Not loud, not tentative. He waited. He looked different without the jacket, without the room arranging itself around him. Tired. Decided. He didn't sit until I did. He set his phone on the table face down like it couldn't be trusted. I spoke to an attorney, he said. Fraud is grounds for annulment. He didn't dramatize it. He said it the way you say a measurement. He slid a folder across the table. The cardboard edge rasped softly. Inside were printouts, dates, subject lines, red flags stacked neatly. She received notices before the wedding, he continued. From the lender, from the cards, warnings about delinquency. He tapped one page. This one was opened, he said, then deleted. I didn't ask how he knew. He flipped to another page, and this he added. Your mother emailed me, told me not to bring it up. Said it would only stress Brielle. I watched the kettle light blink on and off. She asked you to hide it, I said. Yes, he replied. Silence stretched, not awkward, useful. I won't contest anything Julian said. I'm filing for annulment. Today. Okay, I said. He nodded once, relieved by the lack of argument. I wanted you to know, he added, before the noise starts. The noise had already begun. My phone lit up on the counter. Then again, group texts, missed calls, names I recognized without opening anything. Please fix this. Your father's career. How could you do this to us? Julian stood. I'm sorry, he said. For the night. For all of it. I know, I replied. When he left, the room returned to its small sounds. The fridge clicked. A car passed outside. I opened the messages then. Not to respond, to read the pattern. My mother wrote longest. Withdraw the complaint. He could lose his license. Families handle things privately. An uncle followed. Think about the consequences. My father sent nothing. That said enough. I typed one line and deleted it. Typed another. Deleted that too. I didn't owe them a better sentence. I didn't owe them anything that kept the door open. I blocked the numbers, one by one. The phone went quiet in a way that felt deliberate. A message slipped through from an unknown account. Tell her I'm sorry, Brielle wrote. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I didn't answer. I didn't forward it. I stared at the screen until it dimmed. I sent Julian one text. Tell her I have nothing to say. He replied with a single checkmark emoji. Nothing else. By afternoon, the light had shifted. The dust was gone. I wiped the counter, slow, methodical. The house made its ordinary sounds, the kind that don't ask questions. I sat at the table and signed a different set of papers, forms the detective had emailed, instructions highlighted. The pen moved steadily. No tremor. When I finished, I stacked them square to the edge and slid them into an envelope. Outside, someone laughed down the block. A lawnmower started. Life doing what it does when it isn't watching you. I set the phone face down again and left it there. The silence held. This time I kept it. The hearing room was smaller than I expected. No windows. Fluorescent lights that never quite stopped buzzing. Wooden benches polished smooth by other people's weight. I sat in the second row with my hands folded, the staples already out, a faint line at my temple that caught the light when I turned my head. They played the video first. Hotel cameras, different angles, the iron stand lifting, the moment of impact. The sound was worse than I remembered, duller, more final. No one spoke while it played. The EMT report followed, CT scan, concussion, staples, timestamps that didn't argue. Then the security officer testified. Calm, precise. He used the same words he'd used that night. Assault, weapon, witnesses. My father sat at the defense table, shoulders pulled and hands flat. He didn't look at me. My mother sat behind him, lips pressed, thin eyes moving too fast. They didn't hold hands. When it was my turn, I stood. The floor felt cool through my shoes. I didn't bring notes. I'm not here to explain my family, I said. I'm here to answer what happened. The judge asked if I wished to make a statement before sentencing. I nodded once. I don't forgive him, I said. Maybe someday, but not today. The words stayed where I put them. The sentence came down without ceremony. Probation, community service, restitution, mandatory anger management. The gavel sounded lighter than I expected. The clerk read dates. Paper moved forward. Outside, the air was sharp and clean. I stood on the courthouse steps while people passed around me with their own deadlines. No one stopped. No one asked how I was. Months followed, quiet and procedural. The restraining order held. Messages stopped trying to slip through. Julian's annulment finalized on a Thursday morning. Brielle filed for bankruptcy shortly after. Notices went out. Creditors lined up. My parents took on the debt they'd tried to move. They never asked me for help. They never asked me anything. I went back to work. Early mornings, the sound of tools laid out in order, wood grain under my hands. The house stayed solid, the walls didn't lean, the floor didn't creak where it shouldn't. I paid the property taxes on time and watched the receipt print cleanly. Once my phone buzzed with a number I didn't recognize. I let it ring until it stopped. The silence afterward felt earned. On a cold evening, I locked up and stood in the entryway a moment longer than necessary. The light from the porch fell across the floor just right. I set my keys on the hook. I slid the bolt. The sound was small, decisive. I went home and I locked the door. If you've ever been asked to give away what you built with your youth, your patience, your quiet nights, leave one word behind, even if only for yourself: boundary.